Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Chop Up Podcast, home of unfiltered conversation. Y'all already know, with no chaser. We are so excited to drop a brand new episode. OMG. I always say it from the top, and I'm going to say it again. I really miss you guys. Many of you know that the podcast is so therapeutic for me and for my listeners. And so we just want to, from the top, just thank everyone for, listening and rocking with us and rocking with our content. So thank you so much. Today, we have a really great conversation. And let me just preview the conversation by saying this. You guys, I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be unapologetic. Everything y'all want from me, y'all going to get in this conversation because we got to talk about it. So I got the perfect person to join me on a conversation that we really need to talk about. So let's get into it. No more.
I'm
let's
ready.
Get into it. I'm ready, right? Okay, you guys. So as I said, welcome back to the Chop It Up Podcast, episode 34. We're going to be talking about the miseducation. Wait, hold on. Let me say it again. The miseducation of entrepreneurship. The miseducation of entrepreneurship. Now, I know y'all like, what's that about? Is she going to be talking about the miseducation of Lauryn Hill? Maybe, it's around that vein. But I really want us to get serious about the conversation of entrepreneurship. I want us to get serious about how we treat each other as human beings, especially in the business world, because so many of us are in the business setting, right? So many of us glamorize entrepreneurship and being your own boss, right? And we have that new wave of boss babe and, I'm a boss up. So let's really talk about it. Let's have an honest conversation about entrepreneurship through the lens of real business leaders, right? Myself and my guests. So let's get into it. Tonight, we are talking to the amazing, the incomparable Lasagna Thompson. Lasagna Thompson is an attorney. She is a consultant, business coach, and mentor. She promotes diversity and equity in addition to inclusion in the media space and entertainment. I am so honored to speak with this young lady because when I started my career many years ago, I met her. And Lasagna, it's an honor to have you. Welcome to Chop It Up. How are you?
I'm excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. I just want to thank you so much for, just from the top, for your sisterhood throughout the years. You have really supported me. You've become one of my business besties that I rely on. And I'm just so grateful for you. So I want everybody to know that your resume supersedes who you are as a person, and you're a God-fearing woman, which is number one, right?
God is the key, the center.
Absolutely, he is. He is, and we're gonna get into that because that has an integral part. Faith has an integral part in our lives and how we are able to sustain our businesses. So many of you guys know that outside of the podcast, I am a full-blown, right, entrepreneur. I have a small business where I am the senior event planner at my event planning firm. I have had this business for 7+ years, and now for the first time, we actually have staff on the payroll. Lasagna, can you imagine? I got staff. I literally got to pay people.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But listen, I'm so happy we're having this conversation. And I know I surprised you with the topic, but I know we can have it because we've had these conversations offline, right?
Yes.
And so this is a safe space. This is an unapologetic space. And so let's get into it. The miseducation of entrepreneurship. I think about Lauryn Hill and her album, right? The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That was a prolific time for hip hop, especially women in hip hop, and especially consciousness. Ooh, drop bars. Come on now. Lasagna. Consciousness.
Look, I'm high-fiving.
Yeah. And so I really wanted to link the two. So many of us, especially social media, again, the world that we live in, everything is heightened. Everything can be glamorized. And let's talk about business. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. It's very much glamorized, right? Would you agree?
It's glamorized, but it's something that's 24/7. I think about my business all through the night. Yes, I want rest. And yes, I want, to be alert and energetic in the morning, but we're still just pushing the limits so that we can see our businesses scale and grow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know for me, like this is the first time in my life that I'm really out here like a slave. No, there's no other way to describe it. Like I'm really hustling, and I think I was speaking to a client and she said to me, it feels like you have to start all over again, right? I said, yes. But definitely with the pandemic and just the impact of where we are as a society really takes a toll. It takes a toll on our mindset. So even before we get into the juicy convo, how do you protect your mindset? How do you protect your space, your energy? What do you do? What does your morning routine look like?
Well, not only is prayer involved and meditation, but then I just have to take a time out and just power walk, just to be able to just get some of that energy out of my system. But not only that, I'm having to also think about what family members do I need to call and, just kind of check in with, because if I can just keep them at bay, then I'll be okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So what I heard is meditation, right? Waking up, showing up for yourself and for your community, for your family members, right? So that's great. That's great. And really becoming center with yourself, right? And really before you attack the day. Got it. Got it.
Absolutely. And not only that, though, you want to also look at, okay, I have this calendar that's jam-packed, and I need to decide the priority, meaning what's going to bring in some money, and then what's developing the money, and then what's something that's kind of a long-term, something that I may not get, may not see the benefit, but it's still instrumental in me making sure that I participate in that activity.
Wow, I like that. So really kind of like customizing, right?
Mhm.
Customizing or prioritizing what's
That's it.
important. I like that. Yeah. That's a great way to look at it, and that's even a good way to implement. Me, I just attack the day, honey. I just be attacking. I just be fighting them. No weapon form against you, so I'll just be fighting, like ducking.
You and Muhammad Ali.
Yes, exactly. Uh, but I do feel like I have a method to my madness. But what I can say, not every day is the same. And that's one thing about entrepreneurship. Not every day is the same. Sometimes you're going to have a little bit more hectic, crazy day, office day, or productivity day. And then some other days, you might be able to kind of go out and network and so forth. So for me, at least for me, every day is different. So that keeps me thrill, that keeps me excited. So certainly. So, I want us to jump in the conversation, if you don't mind, since we already got, the mental stuff together. Let's talk about it. Um, the reason why I wanted to, I've always wanted to have this conversation, but it's such a delicate conversation. And I'm so happy that you and I reconnected as well, because you're the right person to really have this conversation when we talk about entrepreneurship, especially within communities of color, customers that we acquire, many times customers that may look like us for the most part, right?
That's
And
right.
so there is a familiarity, there is comfort there. And there sometimes is a knowledge or understanding of each other background for whatever that may be, right?
Your heritage, meaning if it was the hometown, if it was the shared experience by being in America, and if it was just having to compete, in a very limited small space for whatever carve out is given to persons of color or what they call BIPOCs.
Yeah, the BIPOC community. Yeah, definitely. Why do you think that entrepreneurship is glamorized? Or do you feel that it is glamorized based on your observations?
I agree with you 100% that it is glamorized because people want to project, I'm going to say, the most positive image that they can show, that they have it together, they can balance it all, that everything's working, just totally 100%, no issues, no concerns, what have you. And with that being the case, they're sometimes sending the wrong message to clients, right? Because we have to manage expectations of the clients that even though our contract says 3 revisions, the client is still going to try to push for revision number 4 and revision number 5. So, and then that pushes your timeline back. If we are networking and we're standing there trying to get our information over to whoever their decision maker is, and then the person in the line is kind of holding up everybody because they don't want to let go of the individual and not be courteous. I mean, it just goes the full gamut. You're trying to do a collaboration on an RFP or on a contract. And then, someone, that you're working with, they either pull out, they either, tell you, you discover some things in terms of their financials down the road. I mean, so many things can like pop up that people didn't disclose to you. So for me, trying to develop this checklist of what to go by when I'm interacting with individuals that I want to go after a project or a contract with. The list goes on and on and on. And that's why we're in a world where we have to have contracts, letters of intent, memorandums of understanding, because humans will sometimes change on you.
Oh my gosh, girl, you went there. You went there. She went there. So let's stay there. It's crazy you said that. For many folks who don't know what an RFP is, let's, spell it out, right? So
Okay.
that is, what is an RFP?
It's a request for a proposal. It's when the corporation or the governmental agency or even a set of nonprofit organizations will ask the general public or a set amount of people that they want to learn about the services that you provide, the amount and the quote of your services, the scope of the work that you will provide for them, and then developing a timeline when you will fulfill the work, and then how you will get paid for the work and when you will get paid.
Mm, girl, you explained that so eloquently. I guess that's why you're the attorney. So you don't, well, you and I know that I am working on one. I was sent information about a particular opportunity with a huge organization, and I invited you to be a part of my team as I am developing my pitch and really putting that proposal together. And so it's so it's so interesting that the question of, do you believe entrepreneurship is glamorized, and us having that conversation, because social media will get you thinking that no, like you killing it, you can, be fly, right? You can look fly, and and just bank, you can make mad bank. But there's so much, especially when it comes to structured businesses or legacy companies or legacy firms or sustainability, right? There is so much
Yes,
that goes in to sustaining a business, right? And a part of sustaining a business is bringing on team members, is acquiring customers, is opening up your vulnerability and the opportunities, right? To bring people into your own situation, right? So I felt so comfortable knowing that let me reach out to Lasagna and bring her in to this proposal that I'm doing. But in that same vein, I also saw someone with amazing talent, and I reached out to the person and I said, hey, I see your talent, and you can really add value in terms of what I'm doing here with this organization. Immediately they were like, yes, let's get on a call, let's go through it. And I did all of that, Lasagna. I did all of that. They were definitely down for the cause. All of a sudden, the next week, I got an email. I didn't even get the courtesy of a call. Hey, Carmisha, X, Y, and Z. I got an email that they're gonna back out because it's just too much work. I'm sorry. Let's rewind. What is too much work? Because it's the last time I checked, I have to write the proposal. I am just putting my team in place like on a football court, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just getting my team in place, but I am the MVP.
That's it.
Okay.
The
So
quarterback.
come on now. I am Tom Brady. Let's not get this
Okay.
twisted. And I had to share that with you. And in full transparency, Lasagna, I want to be full transparent. That's one thing about me. I don't fake it. There's no reason for me to fake it, especially on this podcast. When I received that email, I was disappointed. And I was very disappointed with that person because I didn't know them for a long time, a long set of time, but you really don't. You can just go off a vibe. You can go off of a lot of different characteristics and let's rock and roll. But I was disappointed and I was kind of like hurt a little bit because of the I want to preview my what I'm about to say. I want to caution what I'm about to say, but
Right.
in full transparency, that treatment, that I receive, it's a treatment that I know very well, right?
Yes.
Especially working within our communities, right?
Yes.
And it's unfortunate. I want us to talk about that because we need to have honest conversations of sometimes how the BIPOC, how we just on a regular, whether it's human beings or whatever the case may be, but it stings a little bit. It stings a little bit when it comes from us. And I've been in this game for a long time. So I ain't really talking out of my head, right? Or my backside. I'm talking because I've had these conversations with different business leaders, individuals, and it seems to be over the years a collective. So let's talk about it. Last night, you and I went out. I invited you to a beautiful industry event. Yes?
We had a great time. It was dynamic. It was spectacular.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to definitely talk more about that. But what stood out for me is the reason why we're having this conversation about the miseducation of entrepreneurship. There was a young lady that felt so comfortable with us at dinner. And she said to you and I, Lasagna, I'm going to let you tell the listeners what happened because you're the attorney.
Absolutely. Well, one of the young ladies was being approached, by you to make sure that you get the angles right in terms of recording her, and making sure that if the lighting looked good, because you all wanted to make sure that you put it in your marketing, in your social media, and then you also wanted to just memorialize this, fantastic event. But the organizers of the event, one in particular, he was feeling some kind of way or expressed some kind of way that they were not pleased with, the person that was with us having dinner and yourself and others recording, and not disturbing anyone. And like other people in the room who were also recording and taking selfies and just, so it wasn't as if it was abnormal, but there was a particular focus on you and, the other person that you were with. And so with that being the case, that just throws everything off.
Yeah. So I'm talking also about, that's a good point that you brought up. I didn't even think about that. I'm talking about the conversation that the young lady you and I had, where she spoke about having a business. She owns a manufacturing company. Remember that one? That's the conversation. She owns a manufacturing company, and she had two clients that unfortunately has her in serious debt, over 30K. 30K in debt. One of the clients, you guys, our listeners, one of the clients literally got the product. She received the merchandise by hand, right? The young lady who's a
Pictures
manufacturer.
taken of it.
Yeah. What happened?
Pictures were taken to show
Pictures
the
were
product
taken.
was delivered.
Pictures were taken to show the product was delivered. And the client at the time contacted her credit card merchant, right? And we're not going to call names, but they literally reverted the payment, and the client said that they never received the merchandise, even though they did, right? And we're talking about $1,000 worth of inventory that this client claims they never received, but indeed they did receive, and has left this young woman, the manufacturer owner, in a serious deficit. Let's talk about it. The miseducation of entrepreneurship from the lens of Black folks. I can't even sugarcoat this no more. We're gonna go right there. Now, I'm not saying that we do this to one another, because certainly there are bad folks in every community. And
Absolutely.
Once you're in business, you're gonna get the good and the bad. We ain't talking about that, because that's a given. But what we are speaking about, and I want everyone to clearly hear me so that no one gets this misconstrued, because if it's one thing, you can't come for me. No, because I am very much alive. Okay, so you can never come for me. We are talking about working with each other. Lasagna, the reason why I want us to stay on this conversation, because in that room last night, the young lady who was the host, who was killing the game, right? She's killing the game. What did she say when she was asked, hey, why are you selling, or why are you marketing your course? Right, your courses, your program. She has programs. Why are you marketing at such a low price point? And the young lady said, because, Lasagna, you remember what she said? Why should I charge a premium to my people that's already being taxed? Come on. That's already being taxed from the outside world. Why should I charge a premium with this knowledge that I have, that I can help? Let's talk about the miseducation. We're talking about consciousness. Oh yeah, we're going to go there tonight, right? We're going to go there. So we're talking about consciousness. Why should I charge a premium for something that I innately get in terms of I already know how to do? I know how to code. I know how to read a stock chart. I know how to make money and make it very well, right? Why should I charge? Why should I not allow my people, right? Just like Moses. Let's go there. Let's go there. Just like Moses. Why should I not let my people benefit? Why should I not bring my people to the promised land? Lasagna, let's go there.
See, it's two things going on. So we have the understanding that we have gone through so much to get to this point. And then, once we get to a certain point, then we still have to come up with another bag, right? In order to climb up further. But then you have the other opinion or thought process is that there are people that are out there that can afford the premium. And so then therefore, you need to just develop a mindset where you're only marketing to the people who can afford the premium. And I think the clash between the two thought processes is the fact that you're having the haves and then the have-nots. And so then the haves are always able to then access and gain and move further up. And then the have-nots who are working hard, working diligently, trying to do their best, but then they still cannot because they're getting pushed down either by their own people or by a bigger society. And so then you have people that will enter into that contract or into that phone call that you had with the other person that you were approaching with the team. So then you had the one mindset, I have a premium, I have an opportunity, I'm going to share it with the community. And then the person who you were actually trying to elevate and lift up, they had the mindset, well, I got here, but it's just not too, I can't put this too much time into it, or it's going to take too much from what I got going on. And so then, there's the sting that you experience, right? And then I think the challenge is that every person that we come into contact with, we almost have to just do, some kind of check, to say, okay, is this the person with mindset A, or is this the person with mindset B? And then I gotta come up with a pathway for my mindset A folk clients, and then another path for my mindset B clients, or persons that we're going to collaborate with. And that's what makes entrepreneurship also messy. Now, we can say that, okay, Elon Musk and Bill Gates, they could care less about anybody, as long as they have a system in place, and then you're able to put your coin or your check or, your meaning your Bitcoin, or, whatever it is that your currency is, as long as you have enough to put into it, then you can rock and roll with me. But we're not coming from that type of mindset, right? Yes, we have systems in place. And yes, we, have products that are luxury and appealing to the masses. But then at the same time, we're also trying to be servant leaders and give back to the community economically, and not just socially, and where we can only do at a limited amount. We're trying to also teach people how to fish with
Yes.
what we're trying to do. So that's how it gets messy.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, you're saying that so eloquently. You're saying that from a beautiful perspective. But I want to ask you, so many folks say that I've had so many bad experiences doing business with folks that look like me, that speak like me, that come from the same background. So many folks say that. Why is that common? Why is that, why? Why can't we
Okay,
just understand that we're in this together? And as the young lady said, I don't want to tax my own because they're already being taxed. There are so many, like you just said, there are so many hurdles that we already have to face, whether it's women of being a woman of color, being from certain background, societal background, economic background, culturally, right? Because there are so many limitations, and those limitations are put by you, by you, or on you by society, right? So why is it that we all cannot collectively see that, no, let's work on this, let's work towards this, let's think bigger picture? Like, why is there always a fight, a tussle? I want to preview, by before you say this, before I worked for myself, I was an employee. I remember a young lady, right, in college, working my little retail. I had a manager. Everybody that liked me. My name was KK, so you already know. Everybody that liked me. My customers, my coworkers, I was really fun. I used to definitely get my clients. My clients love me. This one manager, I couldn't stand him. He was annoying. He was like a bully. but very kind of like under the surface kind of bully. And I couldn't take it anymore. He would mess with my schedule, right? He would pretty much like say little snark comments when he come to work or when I'm at work, and just really try to mess with my money. And I remember this dude looked like me. I'm like, why you a hater? Like, I'm like, why is you a hater? I couldn't understand it. Lasagna, I had to do something that I didn't even want to do, but I had to check him. And how did I have to check him? I had to get his manager. Literally, everybody, all my coworkers, we were all complaining about his management style, right? His leadership style. And I was like, nah, we ain't gonna complain. I had to call his district manager. You know what I'm saying? I had to call her. I sent her an email. I said, my name is X, Y, and Z. I work at store, da, 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 da. And I'm having a problem with your manager. And immediately she came and she rectified it. She didn't look like us. She rectified it. She checked him. And I said to myself, damn, why I gotta go through that? Why we gotta go through that? Why we just can't respect and you just respect me as an associate? You feel me? And as somebody that's way older than me, right? I had to get somebody to check you. And so that's the thing, Lasagna. It's like in business, especially what I'm noticing and realizing is that many times we got to get people to check us. Some of us don't even like working with, you always say that conversation, oh, I don't like even working with those type of people, right? And it's like, why? Why is there a negative connotation when it comes to working with Black and brown companies? Right? Why are there still those negative stigmas? And because those stigmas are there, why so many of us, or many of us, right, are also aiding to those stigmas? You're talking about a young lady who is now 30,000 deep in debt from a client that looks like her, right? She said to you and I, she said, this has never happened with any other race or culture that I work with outside of my own. And so there's a problem. And before you answer, I want us to have an honest conversation. I want my listeners to understand that Black is beautiful, right? The spectrum that we live is beautiful. So don't get this misconstrued, but we got to do better. We got to show up better. That have and have not mentality is killing us. That have and have not mentality, that crab in the barrel mentality. Some people say, who put us in the crab? It's no longer who put us in the crab. The bottom line is there is a mentality that exists and we got to nip it in the butt. Lasagna, go. Because you know me, I'm ready to fight.
Okay, look, I want you to get you a glass of water, but you're making some valid points. First of all, we're dealing with hundreds of years of brainwashing and the ill effects, of bondage. And then there's still hurt people will hurt people, right? And then, not only that, mentality starts, very young. So then, if people are not being taught properly, and then people think that they can get away with things, if people think that they can push the envelope with you and try you, right? Then, they will push you. And yes, it's our skin tone, but then it's also other cultures, as well, right? Because we want to say, that the other folks, are not perfect, coming to the table as well. But one thing
That's
is
a
for
fact.
sure, though, is that we have to do a better job in making sure that we put things in writing, have contracts. We can't have any more handshakes. We have to, we have to bring everything out in the open, right? To have the frank conversation before we memorialize it and put it in writing. we almost have to get witnesses, right? So even though that particular person who gave us their story, she, did not need to just drop off the product. She needed to have like two other people with her, right? She needed to have some kind of signature process in place, so then that way it could, provide the proof. But then also making a demand that you have to pay 100% before you can get anything. So then, therefore, the lessons learned from these types of things that happen is that from this point on, we have to treat our own and then anyone else, with a tight, fine tooth comb, because, we don't have any time, at least I don't have any time to be having to look at how am I going to make up for this $30,000 in debt? And then how is it that I'm going to, continue to move forward in such a way, that I'm not bitter, right?
Mm.
Because each person is different. And I don't want to hold the next customer who can be a good referral source to other contracts and other projects because, I'm just so upset from the previous, transaction that I was in. And then, to also add to that, when we were talking about having to deal with you and putting the person in check, that manager. But then there was some jealousy, in that, too, as well. Let's just be frank about it. And, people have to understand that, okay, if you're feeling some kind of way, because this person has a charismatic personality, then you need to look inward. You got to work on your morning meditations and your morning mindset and looking for ways in which you can deal with those insecurities, but at the same time you can't project that onto the person just because other people are enjoying her company or enjoying her work because it's outstanding and she's competent and she's showing up, meaning 150% in all of her work that she does. So then those are just like some customer service one-on-one type of trainings and back to the basics foundational things that I think that is missing. And just to depend on people going to LinkedIn Learning to understand customer service, we're not going to get it. It's going to have to start in our school systems, where we're teaching people about just basic customer service and ethical behavior, and then just behavior in terms of, having to have some type of camaraderie and colleagueness, in everyday interactions.
Oh my gosh, girl, you are my yin to my yang. You
It's
are.
true, it's true, right? Why? And then, but see, the problem that I had in the scenario about, the gentleman who was the supervisor is that it has to be someone from outside of the race to then, for him to feel that there was enough authority, for him to be able to internalize it and process it. And, that too is another issue in terms of being brainwashed that other races and other cultures are superior. And if they say something or if they provide something, then, then it's entirely above every and anything else that anyone does. No, what it is that, that individual is also complying because they can get the company in trouble if they don't snip this in the bud, right? And then, why is it that we also have to have so much of individuals looking at ways in which they can undermine you. So let's just say you were trying to apply for a promotion or you were trying to move out of that position. You couldn't even get a recommendation from him because, of the way that, and you don't want the recommendation and you're glad he showed his true colors, right? Because you would have been putting his name down as supervisor, as opposed to just the HR department or someone else as your letter of reference. So, sometimes we have to look at the blessing in people showing us their true colors, because we wouldn't even want to be in a contract, with that type of individual, right? And then the same thing, I know we're talking about, different scenarios, but in the same instance where the woman who was left with 30,000, because that could have been 100,000, or it could have been 1.5 million. So we're grateful for the 30, but then we're going to move forward and make sure we have things in place, where we're going to stop that from the get-go.
Facts. I love that. I love it. And so as we are moving along this powerful conversation, I, even in that moment, and it's funny, Lasagna, you don't know this. I didn't even tell you about this, but that wasn't the first time. That was the first time I met that young lady. But I was recommended to her. Her name was recommended to me as a potential client a few months prior. So someone that knows me very well, very affluent individual out in LA, met a friend of mine's out here. And so my name was passed along. And so the person out in LA referred me to this young lady as me being a potential, she being a client of mine, because, that's the service I provide. She wanted to do like a branding event and like an activation. And so she was going to hire me. So you don't even know this. So when I met her last night, that was the first time I met her. I don't even think she realized that, this girl knows me. It was so crazy. It's so funny how, the world works and how really small the business community is. But when we didn't get to go into business, which is, it's a blessing. It's always a blessing in hindsight. But when she shared that story with me, I was so moved that I provided immediately. I was thinking about, should I provide her with this information? Should I not? And I felt really bad, even in that moment, kind of selfish. Like, even though she's like telling me and telling us this story, I'm like, man, because I'm like, and I'm being honest, right? I'm being really transparent here. I was a little selfish in providing her with information that can help her. But in that moment, I said a silent prayer. And you don't even know this because I know we were all into the combo, but I said a silent prayer. And I said that, Kamisha, if you were on the other foot, if you were on the other side of this coin, you will want someone to look out for you in this aspect. Give her the resources. And so I gave her the resources that can help her, right? That can literally help her business and where she is in terms of looking for funding to fill this hole, fill this gap. But I want to speak to you about that. So many times we are selfish to provide resources because we don't want nobody glowing up before us. It's, whatever thought process happens. What do you say? How do you combat those types of bad habits or bad thinking processes? Like, you're selfish, you don't want to provide information to your brother, to your sister.
I think, at least for me, sometimes, it may be where I'm not even just kind of thinking about, oh, this person may need it, because let's just think about it. Kamisha, I'm like, oh, she's bright, she's shiny, she has it together. Like, what she need
I
a
like the
phone
fact that
for?
you said she's shiny.
She's
You damn
sparkle,
right.
right? Okay, she's smelling good, right? So why does she need a loan, right? And so then, I may not share it, but then that's something that I have to work on as a person, because I can't decide for you just because you keep yourself up and that you're a fashion plate, that you are you have an image, right? You represent your company, you're the president, you're looking good all the time. And so then therefore, because of that, I just cannot assume, meaning sit in my chair of assumption and think, oh, no need to share that with her because of this and that. But then on the opposite side of that, is that A lot of times we feel as if, things are going to dry out if we mention it to another person. And we're not coming from a place of abundance, right? And so this
Mm.
earth and universe, there's so much room for us to, be able to manifest our dreams and our visions. And we can do it in such a unique way that we still have a competitive advantage, right? And that we have our unique selling point about our particular product. So then, therefore, we don't have to feel as if sharing a resource or two, and many of those resources are available, in the World Wide Web, on city, state, federal websites, right? It may be buried deep, in trying to find it, but at the same time, we don't have to fret because we all have a pathway and that we'll all get our blessings, based on, our particular abilities. Some will have the ability to multiply and do things, 100-fold. But then you need to be just comfortable if your ability is to manifest something at 30-fold, right? Because you can do that beautiful because it's a niche audience for your 30-fold as opposed to, something that is available mass scale at a Walmart versus the boutique, right?
Lasagna, when I tell you, you're making me so emotional, you don't even know. Just what you just said. You said something that really touched my spirit. You said, so many of us, and when you make those decisions, you're not coming from a place of abundance. And you just spoke to my soul. And that's what I'm talking about when I said the miseducation of entrepreneurship. Because I gave, and because I said in that moment, in that spirit, I said, no, Kamisha, give her the information. And I did. And she thanked me so much. You can see she was so grateful for it. And she said, thank you so much. I'm gonna send them email tomorrow. Da, da, da. You know that before this call, before you and I conversation this evening, when I got home, got back into my house, I got a message from a past client. The client said to me, hey, I'm coming to New York. I want to do an event. I have a budget. The budget is crazy. 70K, 70K, $70,000. I have a budget. And their events are very niche. So it's not no big, Madison Square Garden, very niche. And it's an amazing industry that they're in. I got that email. And what you just said about when you're not coming from a place of abundance, I think about my life. And I think about so many times I'm so given. I'm so given of myself and given of my resources and given of my talents and just given. And sometimes I am taken advantage of. And someone said to me last night in that same event, he said to me, don't let that dim your light. Right? He was right around when we were all having this conversation. And it was so crazy. It was different conversations in different locations, but they were all connected. He said to me, don't let that dim your light. Full circle moment that I received this email from this past client that is coming to New York. And she trusts me. They trust me to say, I have this budget. I'm not going to be there. So I'm going to need you to facilitate. When you're working from a place of abundance, and that is so beautiful. So many of us have a scarcity mindset. So many of us, and this is beyond culture, right? So many of us have a scarcity mindset that it allows us to hold on to things that's not even ours. So as we close off this powerful conversation, what are some tips would you provide for an entrepreneur, whether that person is a budding entrepreneur just starting out or someone that's seasoned? How can we stay the course? How can we ensure that we do have and we are implementing best business practices? How can we do that?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that we have to think about is the cost and benefit for each transaction that we're going to enter into. Because sometimes we put a lot of energy where we shouldn't, where it's not going to really materialize and give us the best and the brightest of what we need in order to make our business flourish. But to put that into practical steps, you need to develop, I need to develop, we all have to have our checklist of what items do we need to make this a solid deal. So then that way there's no confusion on either side, but then we understand what we are supposed to do. And then we also, put our value, our price, and don't hem haw around it so that we're clear. And if you get that much resistance, then that may not be your client. That may not be your collaborator. That may not be your partner. But then in the end, you still want to start your day or end your day, at least for me, where I say, God, align my day and align the people so that I'm doing your will, you get the glory, but then at the same time, I'm growing and I'm sharing with them the light that you have so much given to me, that I can make an impact in their lives. And who are those people? Make it clear, make it plain. Let me see the wolf in sheep's clothing. So then that way, as I go forward, because I don't have a lot of time to be slipping and, getting all kinds of bruises and bleeding and having to patch myself up in this entrepreneurial journey. Yes, it's going to happen, but I want to reduce it. And if that means me having to partner up to get mentorship, if it means me having to spend a little time in apprenticeship, meaning getting some exposure under people who are very seasoned, then I'm going to do that because I want to make sure that as I go forward, that I'm not taking 5 and 6 steps backwards.
My sister, my sister. Mm. Whew. You got anything you want to say? Because you did it all.
I just want to tell everyone that I'm a film producer and the founder of Interfaith Film and Music Festival. It's taking place December 8th through the 11th of this year. We're doing so virtually all along the way. Kamisha has been instrumental in giving me partners and people who I should be working with in order to get films and sponsors and people to approach to attend that are interested in films that have faith and spirituality and wellness. So I extend an invitation to your entire audience to participate. I'm looking forward to all of the events that Kamisha puts on because they're very extravagant. Sometimes they're above my price point. And so then I just have to watch, the social media clips, right? Because I'm not asking for her to give me a discount. I'm just, I just have to save up
Right.
and make sure that I get there, to the one that, I am able to make. But I'm just excited for what EBK Events has in store for us.
Thank you. I'm excited for what we all have and all our gifts. I think one thing about me is that I know and I understand business very well. And in order to grow as an individual, whether it's spiritually, right, you have to invest in others. You have to invest first in yourself and you have to invest in others because your tribe is going to take you to the next level. You got to have a solid and a cohesive tribe, people that you love, people that respect you, people that trust you, right? And so there are so many different aspects to this journey. And I think you said it so well. It's about clarity and asking God as we wake up and we have those moments of meditation as to align me. And you're so right. Align me with the individuals that see me, that see my worth, and that understand that I am a woman, I am here, I am a man, I am not charity. I am a business entity. I am not charity. I'm a business entity, and treat me as such as I treat my clients as such. And I think you said that. And so I will champion you. I will celebrate you. We're definitely going to have you come back on so you can talk more about the festival. And we will definitely share that with my people online. Lasagna Thompson, attorney, consultant, business coach, the realest business coach, I might say, and mentor. I want to thank you so much for joining us on the Chop It Up podcast. As I said, this one is coming in hot, and it was hot, but it was beautiful. It was therapeutic. You guys, thank you so much. I will talk to you guys. We will see you on the next episode. Thank you. As you already know, please like, share, subscribe. If anyone is offended about what we said today, you already know. Send us a voice note. This is a great conversation. As I said, we need to have honest conversations. If people are feeling it, thinking it, experiencing it, then it's something that we got to talk about. So, Lasagna, thank you so much for joining us. As I said, you all, we out. Make sure you like, subscribe. Bye. See you on the next one.